Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Avatar Rewatch. We are now on episode 5. We are just kind of cruising through things. And so, Jared, what are your first thoughts? Just your first general intro thoughts to this.
Aang has some weird ass friends. Like really, really creepy. But as soon as he showed the flashback for his friend, and then I saw the king, I was like, yeah, they're the same person. As soon as I saw it, as that was the most obvious thing they could have done, and I like how it like takes long for Aang to figure it out, and that was like one of the third challenges.
Yeah, so this is the first episode where it really shows not just the Earth Kingdom, but also earthbending in general. So, what did you think about? Let's just start with the Earth Kingdom. Like, what did you think of like how obviously this is a very wildly different aesthetic? What did you think of the Earth Kingdom aesthetic?
It makes sense. I like it how it's like made of a lot of stone, and that makes sense because it's the Earth Kingdom. I also think I had an epiphany watching this episode. Aang is pretty much doing the stuff that we would do if we were in that position because it's like, of course, we want to slide down a giant ass slide on in a basket. That looks so much fun.
It's like a slightly less dangerous roller coaster.
Yeah, and speaking of that, I like how they apparently have a more efficient postal system than we do.
Oh snap! So there's like this interesting joke that kind of kept running through. What did you think of like the cabbage thing?
Yeah, that was great, and it even went all the way to the end. It's like, oh my cabbage! I'm like, oh gosh, and
I hope you
I
I
love
hope
the
you like
first.
that joke. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
I love the first one. The first time it happens, where Aang's like, "Don't worry, the Earthbenders are so nice," and it was like, expired cabbage, get out of here.
And so for the people who know what we're talking about, my cabbages.
That was so good.
So a little bit of spoiler that actually kind of becomes like a running gag throughout the entire series.
Oh,
Like
really?
for some reason they keep running into the cart. He says my cabbages. It becomes such a running gag in the sequel series Legend of Korra. They actually kind of do an homage to that joke where there's a guy called Cabbage Corp, and he's like my Cabbage Corp, and they even bring back. It's like that much is that much of a recurring joke.
Wow.
And this is the first time we see it. Um, Probably one of my favorite things was like um you really see how bending affects this world, where like bending is such a common thing where it's like not necessarily everyone has it, but enough people have it to where they really incorporate like the fact that like the gates are literally just bent open, you know,
Hmm.
or the fact that like they just create their own doors, which makes totally perfect sense in a world like this.
Yeah. Those doors are pretty dope, and I love the look on our three protagonists when and see the door open. They're like, "Huh?" Oh, I love Aang trying to impersonate an old person and Mimu's in his hair. I love that.
Yeah, like one of my
Hair.
favorite shots is like they're going through the door and like Momo's ears peek out. The guy sees it like, oh, and then, like the door closes. Like there's nothing he can do. It's just so great.
Hmm. Yeah, it was really good. I love that.
Mm-hmm. A lot more comedy this episode, but like I feel like there's a big kind of difference between the comedy in this episode, 5 episodes in, than what you saw with like the first 2 episodes. Like the first 2 episodes, it was a bit more juvenile, kiddish. Well, this one it still has comedy, but it's more set up punchline instead of gag based, I'd say.
Hmm. Yeah, it is.
Um like for example, probably one of my favorite jokes is what's his name? Rocky, you know. And the guitar says, "That's a good idea, but we're going to keep trying." Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's an
Just the-
option, but we're gonna keep trying. I love that. That's so
I gotta
good.
say, Mae Whitman, her delivery was on fire this
Yes,
episode. Like,
yes,
God, she was just hitting that right on. Like, she was just hitting those spots.
exactly.
And then Boomy was, oh my God, Grandpa got jacked.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh, do you even lift, bro?
He lifts
He clearly lifts rocks.
he lifts Omashu like every morning.
Hmm.
I mean, if you think about it, like that, like there's a good reason why like a lot of benders are usually like really fit because bending requires a lot of motion, with your hands and legs. So it makes sense that you'd be really strong, especially like an earthbender.
I also really liked that how the second challenge involved Aang retrieving his pet, and the pet's like that giant creature that's trying to eat Aang. You would think it's the bunny, but then he's like, "Oh no!"
Yeah,
And I love how the jail cell was just renovated. It looks really nice. So then he eventually goes, send them to the recently refurbished jail cell.
yeah, that was just really good kind of quirky humor and whatnot. What did you think between the fight between um Boomy and Aang, where it's like even if you don't know the revelation, they really do kind of hint it where it's like it shows that Boomy's like, oh, he's fought an airbender before, he knows how airbenders fight.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Also, like if you actually rewatch the scene, there's like a shot where like he sees Aang and like you can see his eyes twitch. It's like he knew exactly who he was the
He knew
moment he saw him.
exactly. Mm-hmm.
Because like this, his eyes kind of do like this, like kind of thing. It's like kind of like
Mm-hmm.
a blink and you miss it shot. It's something that you'd only really catch on if you're rewatching the episode. Which it's one of the things I love about this series is there's all these details that you just kind of miss and whatnot.
Plus, I love where he goes, Aang, you haven't changed like at all.
uh, it's kind of like that one scene from Force Awakens where it's like like you've gotten old,
Mhm.
or like
Or it's like in Justice League when Batman is falling and he goes, I need a little air support because I can't fly like at all.
you can do it. And then I'll if I was Superman, I'd literally just like skywrite, you can do it. And then Bruce would be like,
Mm-hmm.
uh, because this is Avatar, I'm censoring myself. So
Yeah, because I was about to say it's your show. You don't have to censor yourself.
no, but this is Avatar. I feel like a lot of the audience might skew a little bit younger, so I'm trying to keep this
Mhm.
stuff under control. Yeah, and then towards the end of the episode, we had a little bit kind of the plot moving forward.
Mhm.
Like with Boomy talking about like mastering the elements in a certain order. Um, this is actually the first time that the name of the Fire Lord gets dropped, Fire Lord
Mhm.
Ozai. Like this is like so even this episode, which you could think of as a filler episode, it does still move the plot forward. It's what I like to call the Buffy method, where it's like you have a relatively standalone plot, but like the last 5 minutes, you kind of put stuff in to move the plot forward.
And essentially, Ozai is the last guy that Aang has to fight, and then he's the Avatar.
No, the Avatar. Well, he is the Avatar.
Well, yeah.
But like basically, kind of to sum up, Aang needs to master the 4 elements. So he's mastered air. The tattoo on his head is literally his airbender mastery, so that's good. And then he needs to master water, earth, and then fire. The 4 elements. So right now, we're on book 1, water, and so like the goal of the season is to get to the North Pole, find a waterbending teacher so we can master waterbending. Because Katara was literally the only waterbender in the South Pole. We'll
Mhm.
find out later why that is. You'll get more information about that. It's a little bit of a hama shadowing. Fans of the show just realized what I did, but whatever. But yeah. So yeah. So he's going to master water, then earth, and then obviously fire. So he's going to need to find a master for each of those. So, but let's just kind of worry about the book 1 water right now. So we're roughly kind of getting to the halfway point because I believe there's about like 12 episodes in this first season. Let me kind of look it up real quick. So kind of give me some of your general thoughts that you had. kind of whatnot.
Well, I liked a lot of the humor in this show, and once again, I like how Aang's basically doing all the stuff that we would do if we were in this world, like sliding down the mail chute. That just looks so cool. And
So, correction, there's actually 20 episodes in season 1, so we're still kind of approaching the halfway point, but that's all good.
yeah, so I like how this is the first person that we've actually met that actually knew Aang, the living person that actually knew Aang back in the day. And I must say, for like over 100 years old, the dude looks really good.
Yeah, this is kind of like another one of those like subtle world building where it's like the people here are kind of like a different physiology. Like some people tend to live longer, and also the durability of people. Like, do you realize how much Aang was getting smacked around by those like stones, and he just like got up, be like, you know, and like
Exactly.
Boomy getting hit with that hit with those kind of stuff. So like, these people have probably got to have a different physiology than us.
hmm And I love where when Aang was doing all those challenges, like the first one, I love how Boomy goes, "Really, climb the ladder? No one's ever tried that one before."
uh, Boomy was basically the stand-in for the audience for that one.
Yeah. But I love how he was taunting Aang throughout all the challenges, and then I love the whole little time thing, the like time limit, I guess they put on the challenges where they put put those rings on Guitar and Sokka that continually grow, and they're basically being encased in diamond.
Yeah. Which, well, actually, it's the Avatar equivalent of rock candy. You find out at the end,
Yeah.
which
He
is
just
it's kind of
chomps
funny.
into it.
Yeah, and then Momo starts licking it. It's kind of funny.
I mean, they could have eaten their way out then.
Yeah, they very well could have. Um, but yeah, I just love like the different kind of things where it's like, oh, Gemini, glowing, growing crystal, like that's something that you don't really see that often. Like that's kind of a cool little plot device. It's cool little, gets a visual timer on it. It's really cool. Um, I love how calm Katara is like throughout the whole thing. Like
The
she's
whole
slow.
thing, Sokka's freaking out. Oh my gosh, we're gonna die! And Katara's like, "It's all right, go, Aang."
Oh, I really appreciate it. So, do you have any predictions, theories, kind of going forward?
Not really. Just because not a lot of like lore was established in this series for in this episode for me to like make a prediction on where I'm going. I'm enjoying it
Yeah,
so
we
far though.
we got a few drips. We did get a
hmm
few drips. Like obviously, we learned more about the Earth Kingdom. We learned about well, like kind of like a little hint about going forward. Um, but yeah, so next episode is gonna be episode 6, and then episode 7 and 8 are a two-parter where
hmm
that's kind of where the lid really gets blown off.
hmm
So, yeah, we might do episode 7 and 8 as since they're kind of like a two-parter, we might do those as like a double stack. Kind of like
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. You might as well just cover both of them at once.
yeah, because like one is a two-parter. So next week's episode is going to be a standard one, and then the next week's episode is going to be a two-part. Is going to be probably a little bit longer. Like if these ones are like 10-15 minutes, the next one kind of might run about a half an hour because it's like a two-parter. There's going to be a lot. There's going to be a big lore drop in those two episodes, and it really kind of like sets you on where we're going to go. So I feel like we're going to have a lot to talk about. Maybe bring on a special guest or something. I don't know, but that's going to
hmm
be like a big one. Maybe might do it as a live stream. I don't know, but like the
hmm
winter solstice is going to be like the big two-parter. Um, then yeah, then going to continue doing these every week. And like I said, season 1 we're going to do that, and then depending on how things go, we'll probably seasons 2 or 3. But things are going good so far.
hmm
Jared's simply enjoying them. So yeah. Um, any final thoughts?
Really great series so far.
Yeah, I agree, and I can't wait till we get to the winter solstice because like that's when like like I said, the lid gets blown off, and you kind of learn a lot of things. So yeah, so that's kind of where things are going. Next week is just a standard episode, and then the week after that is like the big one. Um, might take a few weeks off around Christmas. I don't know. I mean, we kind of
Mhm.
record these on a Sunday, so it's possible. But like, don't be surprised if sometime around Christmas we kind of take like a 2 week break. I don't
Mhm.
think anyone will fault us for it. So this has been Nick from the Phoenix Press, and remember, I can only show you the door. You're the one who has to walk through it.